on the other side. Nico wasn't a problem for Haichao. Did feel like that was okay. Do you feel like you can lock that in again, though? Have you got anything a little more weird to throw at the table?
You have to have an answer against 369's K'Sante. Like, you have to. He was such a menace last game. If you don't, at least maybe something that can bear the brunt of his aggression and come back later. But they'll opt into other avenues as the Wukong and the Rakan locked in for LGD.
Okay, so denying the Zyra Rakan on 2-3. That was an important part of the draft from JDG last time. Of course, the Ezreal Karma was okay in lane against it, but you could definitely see missing out value as the game goes on. Now, JDG have the chance to lock in an Annie, one of the very powerful picks for them as a team. They've passed up the Nico to do this. What happened in Draft 2 was we were expecting a mid lane pick, but instead they went towards the Zyra Rakan. Because the Zyra Rakan's off the table, you can lock in a priority mid laner, which means that it isn't going to get banned around in that second phase. So now Haichao has to look at this and go, what do you really want to play against Knight's Annie? You probably are just going to take that Nico anyway, but you're feeling pretty bad giving Knight one of his most impactful champions in the meta.
With how much LGD have focused on Ruler in this series, I am happy to see him just grab that Xayah. Honestly, first of all, you take away the duo from LGD, but also you just get so much safety for him on a team that we know LGD are going to be looking for picks onto Ruler specifically.
And even with that, we did see a couple of pretty inventive engages from LGD onto that Xayah, which very nearly worked in some cases. And having someone like that Nico being an engaged champion from that mid lane, a pick champion as well in its own way, very, very important. The skill sets we've talked about with Nico are very much about the mind games. Having the presence of mind to choose your flanking angles in a team fight setting as well, they're not as common on all mid lane champions. Something like a Yone, you kind of expect that. It's kind of his whole thing. Something like this Nico is a blend of a lot of different styles, though, and that's going to be very important to see how much value Haichao can get onto this Xayah. Even though it's not in the Zyra Rakan lane, the peel is going to be very important to take away because the Wukong himself can very much struggle to dive alone onto the Xayah.
And I would like to see Haichao be a little bit more active as well. I think we saw a lot of Pop Blossoms go a little bit wide, but trying to be a little bit more creative about those ins would be huge. We're getting to the second phase of bans, though. The Viego and the Nautilus ban away against JDG. And JDG, they respect ban the Mordekaiser as well as the Fjord of fearness. He's shaking his head.
Well, trying to ban away some of the better matchups into that K'Sante. Going to be the Gnar instead, which does come out. fearness played that in that last game and was a little disconnected from the team, gotta say.
Yeah.
One of the first big fights which LGD ended up losing was when fearness was caught out around one of those dragon fights with LPC nowhere nearby as the only source of damage. It's a very difficult scenario after that point. On the other side, though, we've escaped this for the entire day. No.
You forgot about the cat.
I was so enjoying not having this champion in meta Mazel. First day back, get ourselves a Yuumi. For myself, anyway, you guys have been seeing a little bit more of it on your screens than I have in today, anyway. Now you have to round this out with the jungle somehow. Kanavi got his player of the game, Sejuani in Game 2. Be okay to bring it back in Game 3.
Yeah, I mean, might just be looking for another MVP on it. I will subtly say I've loved all the comfort champion picks gone through, hovered. Oh, we get the Kazakhs for Kanavi.
Okay, so we get ourselves one of these priority duelist junglers. This was a real kind of development over MSI. I was talking with a couple of the coaches midway through MSI actually about where the heck the Kindred, the Nidalee, the Kazakhs had come from.
Oh!
And we see the Samira last pick.
LPC's comfort.
Now, LPC's comfort. We have a couple of Samira players in the LPL, but we have to kind of now digest all of this because suddenly kill lane in this bot side. The Yuumi is not just going to have a free lane in their own right. If Rakan hits some knockups, really big chance that LPC could get a huge turnaround in that bot side as well. You have the interplay of feathers and that blade whirl, that spinning wind whirl as well from that Samira versus Xayah.
It's so hype. First and foremost, because it was what I got first hyped about. Kanavi's Kazakhs. Like, this is going to be awesome to watch him try to pick apart this map. But on the other side, I'm always a fan of developmental talent. You know me. But man, to see LPC in this moment, in this split against JDG, having had that game number 1, hovering and going with the Ezreal, another comfort pick from him, And then now in a game that is a make or break moment, grab it out the Nymaera. It is going to be a 2v2 tussle down there. And how quickly can both of these junglers get involved early on in these teams? That will dictate the pace of these games. But I expect absolute bloodshed here for our game number 3. And rightfully so here on our Super Thursday. 5 days a week, we have 3 best of 3s. These teams are in a gauntlet in this summer split. And speaking of gauntlet, we finally see the culmination of this one, this third game between JDG and LGD. Let's hear those Jiaos roar. A little bit of LGD fandom in there. Love to see it.
Hey,
but definitely JDG in their home arena. gonna be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, a bit unfair in terms of home territory in regards to that, but still, having a game taken off of them, JDG probably didn't expect that coming into the day. I'm sure their fans didn't expect that one either, but now we get to see a couple of new picks coming out across the board. Kha'Zix, we've come to understand that's now a little bit more meta after MSI. It really came out as an advancement from everyone playing Vi and Wukong, and then eventually realizing that there were winning jungle matchups when paired with winning lanes that made the game absolutely unplayable. Kha'Zix, Nidalee, Kindred all kind of slot into that as very prime duelists in their own right. Now playing it into the Wukong, have to see if JDG can make that one work for themselves. Of course, they have themselves that Nymaera, which makes the whole winning lane thing a little bit more in question. If you get yourself a good all-in, have to question really how much LPC and JinJiao can work with.
And this is also going back to the style that I feel like works so well for LGD in game number 1. I love the kind of oppression from the Karma in game number 2, but this gives some of that survivability as well as consistent engage for them.
Yeah, and I think so many teams over such a long period of time have relied on Rakan to be a bit of everything. Bit of an enchanter, bit of a lane bully at points, and of course a huge engage threat as well. Having an engage alongside pretty much everyone else being an engaged threat besides the Nymaera can really help LGD find those big, crucial wombo combo pick moments. Of course, on the other side, it's not like JDG aren't amiss with those kind of plays as well, particularly Knight's Annie. You can have yourself a Mega Gnarl and a Cyclone and the Pop Blossom. Knight's Tib is probably a more than a match them just on his own, so watch out for him in that mid lane as we always do. Those team fights going to be very much about who lands that big CC first.
Yeah. And until then, for JDG at least, I'm not looking bot lane. Unless they start losing that bot lane, I'm not looking bot lane. It is all about what happens between these solo lanes, but it's particularly Kanavi. We know that Meteor is super aggressive, but Kanavi loves to have control, and he will need to play aggressive on this Kha'Zix pick.
And often you can bully out that Wukong pick. That's not the issue with the matchup. It's more about coordinating with your winning lanes. You see, go in.
The blade whirl off to block a little bit of damage. Not much block, but a decent trade on the ruler there, pushing them under tower, and here comes Meteor.
So you have all summoners available for ruler and missing. I really don't think a dive is on the cards. And despite the early pressure coming in around bot side, LGD not really twisting the screws as hard as they managed to do in the first 2 games.
Kanavi looking to twist some screws, though, at least in mid lane. Knight actually trying to bait in Haichao. Because if Kanavi gets a first blood or even just a kill as a whole tonight, that would be paying huge dividends early on. Gonna actually stop his back here, trying to see if this wave push is gonna work out for him and get him set up here. Knight, and he ever so much lower, and we'll just see the resets from JDG.
Wonder if that was just a little bit of uncertainty from JDG about where Meteor was on the map. There was a chance that maybe Meteor headed towards mid lane. Seen it a couple of times today from, I guess, different teams about looking for those early inroads, trying to force a flash if you can. Something like the Annie, very happy to walk up and poke out and flash backwards when a jungler comes in. But if you lose that flash, obviously you can't do that. Teleport back in from Haichao now, picking up some laning items, goes back into that laning phase. And we have ourselves a fairly quiet early game, which honestly, as you were saying before, probably favors JDG. They've lacked stability in the first 2 games, and they've had to fight their way back into relevance, particularly in that second game. Game 3, if they don't have to fight themselves back to even, it's even more problems for LGD.
Exactly, and there is a dragon spawning up. Just wonder how much of priority we will get on that, especially with Kanavi hovering this bottom side just in case there was some punishment coming Ruler's way. Ruler and missing, rather. You know, sometimes you just want to forget about the Envyy. No bias, no bias. Fearness, though, they get some really, really unfavorable trades on top side, it looks like. Trying to hit that level 6 and defend against this turret push.
Yeah. 369 on this Cassante, always so indomitable in this laning phase. And again, though, JDG not feeling the need to overforce things. They're the team with the Yuumi in this bot side who really wants to survive more than anything else. And on the other side, particularly when we have the Samira with the early resets as well, resets throughout the entirety of the game, let's be honest. You don't want to be the one to make those mistakes. If it's a steady game, JDG very happy to play that out.
And Kanavi's just going to go right back to farming. We'll get level 6s coming up now for the junglers, but particularly looking at Haichao and Knight, who will just be contesting this mid lane a little bit more so now. I think this turret plate early from Haichao just signals that, you know, Nico has been getting a nice little push in mid lane, and with that pressure, LGD feel confident to go ahead and get this first dragon.
I think, again, just having the early threat of that Samira and JDG not really wanting to give over early gold there, if at all possible. Hang fire on that one, get themselves an early reset. And importantly, you do get those early tier 2 boots from Ruler. I think it's very important, particularly when you have Ghost against Cleanse. LPC, despite having the extra movement speed from the passive of Samira, once you start stacking up on that style passive, those tier 2 boots and Ghost might help you just survive a lot of those situations, and again, keep yourself safer against this. And now you can maybe chase down as well.
LPC, that is a flash and a cleanse, my good sir.
Okay, that's a bit of a momentary advantage from JDG's bot lane, using that extra move speed to force summoners out of the Samira.
Did burn that exhaust, but you'll take that with this lane pressure here in this awkward wave state. LPC healing up a little bit, does have JinJiao back in lane with him. We actually see Tipper's trying to create some lane pressure here for mid lane as well. You do have jungle support, jungle coverage in bottom side. LPC getting a little bit low. The trio grouping up here, trying to keep away the Bugman and Kanavi. And it looks like heavy prevalence bot lane. Who'd have thunk it here, Nymaera?
Almost like we've seen that 3 times today. Crazy. It's almost like that's what we've prepared. However, in this game, slightly different implications from that compared to the first 2 games, because of course of the Yuumi factor. Yuumi has the extra ability to jump onto someone else. Of course, with the changes to the best friend mechanic, you normally want to be stood on your AD carry. There is, however, the extra chance that you can jump onto someone like this Cassante as well. He's flashing forward, but missing the knockup.
I just love in these moments. It's so common that you just get no reactions. It's just like, all right, well, my flash. Even if he would have gotten that solo right there, no reactions probably. But it is just a little bit of pressure dealt out again from 369 on this Cassante, who I'm surprised got the pick for a second time in a row. And now Meteor maybe using that back that 369 just had to pull off to get this Rift Herald.
Yeah, but that's kind of one of the issues when you're playing against one of the top teams in the world, is that there's always another pick. You're like, wow, I can't believe they got that for a second time. Sometimes you just got to bite the bullet in some role. At least with the Cassante, you're surviving lane, and it's not in the most impactful role in the game. Yes, Cassante is pretty disgusting as a champion, but do you prefer that than, I don't know, something like the Kindred, which got through for Meteor, or something more flavorful like that? Something like the Aphelios, which you've seen very, very high priority for a number of these players. It's very different. And of course, Milio, right? So many different crazy OP champions that we see in different roles. You have to bite the bullet somewhere.
Don't hate me, but I miss Zeri.
Oh, come on. No, that's gone too far, mate.
He says. That's gone too far? Well, hey, you know, it is what it is. Sometimes the cookies crumble how it goes.
So, I mean, we were talking about, who were we talking about in regards to this? Nico, right? With regards to, it changes your muscle memory about the game in terms of playing against a champion like that, because they perform just so differently outside the framework of League. Same with like the summoner spell stealing from someone like a Zoe. That's when you're playing against one of these champions. When you're playing the champion itself, Zeri is one of the most unique champions in the game to play because you're not auto-attacking and moving in the same way because you have such high move speed and you're holding your auto-attack to skill shots. Also, like, yeah, you're basically playing like a fully skill shot game, which is not something that we're used to in this point. I don't mind it from that point. I just really kind of despise the fact that she gets infinite mobility from hopping over a wall. That's the one thing.
But you know what? Now she gets infinite bans. All right, you know you gotta trade them out either way. We're gonna be looking back at this with the JinJiao out on the roam. Obviously, Missy gonna be sticking with Ruler down there, but that is where I want to see LGD lean into this kind of roaming style, especially with Haichao on the Nico in the mid lane. They have so much CC set up.
Well, it's not like Yuumi can do the same because Yuumi used to do that by attaching to the jungler. A lot of that play pattern has been nerfed nowadays. Now you have to be basically where your best friend is, which is almost certainly going to be that AD carry. So yes, if JinJiao can get something done on that Rakan, very important to do so. He won't be matched by missing just yet. Wait until the team fights. That's when Yuumi becomes very exciting.
See if that final chapter will truly be that for LGD in this series. The charge comes through, gets a little bit of money for the mid lane of LGD. Kanavi, I feel like I keep wondering, is this deja vu? Are we getting this again? Like, it's just constant hovering here because that is where LGD had found their successes.
And you can see that LPC, without flash, without summoners, not able to threaten the all-ins and keep themselves on the minion wave and threaten the all-ins, does mean that they've fallen behind a bit in CS. And the extra ability to have Kanavi down there and, again, just stave off any threat of an all-in does diminish a lot of what Samira wants to do.
Still love the pick. Still want to see it pop off in fights. The biggest question, though, always
absolutely.
when you see Samira is the single target focus. Like, that is scary. If you get picked out, like, you are literally worthless.
I mean, I really enjoy Samira as a champion. Very different from the AD carry position. I mean, this is also a very good way to deal with it, right? I think as soon as you remove summons from Samira, she really struggles to have that same aggressive laning phase, and you can see that right here.
Yeah. And she wants to go forward, and Xayah wants to go backward and make you come forward. So Ruler's going to be in a point of power, but that's where LPC can outperform, and we saw that in game number one.
End up doing like a 3-point turn as they both want to go in different directions. It's crazy.
And then they meet, and then they waltz. Now we're in a dancing class. Now we have Dragon. Speaking of dancing, started up by LGD. Just want to maybe pull this out and get a safe one. That would be second Dragon for LGD as well.
Would be. Still don't really think this is JDG's real time to shine. Kanavi's half HP as well, a little bit awkward. All you've been looking for here is a Miracle Steal. Not going to be the case. Skill shot's already used. Ruler just looking to see what poke they can get onto champions before they get back into that lane. JDG, they're kind of biting the bullet early on, saying, okay, not going to be fighting. Maybe second Herald, maybe that can be their one big calling card in terms of these early game objectives. You've now got Unleashed teleports available from both teams as well. It's past that 10-minute mark. It used to be 14 minutes, a little earlier now. JDG, they're slowly getting towards that point, particularly beyond first item, where they'll be happy to take fights.
Meteor was looking for an angle down bot lane, but spotted out by the ward. He obviously saw Ruler and Sing backing off quickly after that case. We actually see Kanavi going for a bit of an invade onto the cheeky nuggies of Meteor, or maybe even a wraparound, but both junglers now hovering around this middle lane. The 369 goes in on the top side against fearness, pops his all out, tries to get the flash play, can't get it. fearness stacking up that Mega Gnar, has the distance. Can he chase it down? Don't overextend here as Kanavi's coming right around the corner.
Kanavi bails out his top laner, 369. He's really bored of the fact that top laners don't get to impact the game that much. Flashing forward a number of times to look for those knockers. Meteor going in with
Meteor's found Kanavi, though. This is a tussle that Meteor definitely wins, and Kanavi knows that. Let's back out of that one.
Okay, so Meteor getting the best of that matchup. Had himself that Divine Sunder, of course, a huge power spike for that Wukong, despite the item changes and nerfs, I suppose. Kanavi had himself that Umbral Glaive, which is a good stat stick, especially alongside Dirk. It's not like he's shy on stats, but just eats the bad end of the trade, has to retreat.
Actually, I have first items that have been complete for a little while. Kanavi had already gotten that Noble Grave a while back, but we do get the Collector completed for LPC and that Trinity Force for Fearness now. The LGD, while we haven't gotten any kills yet, 14 minutes into the LPL, we're going to have one soon, all right?
Oh, we're totally going to have one of those soon. I mean, that Collector, it's not the same Collector as past. It's had a lot of its stats buffed at this point. I think I was looking at how Jack Spectra did a bit of a tier list in regards to his AD carries and solo queue and said actually Samira's actually pretty good with this item because it's actually an item now as opposed to just like a feel-good Dirk completion because you used to buy the Dirk for laning phase. It's actually pretty good. And of course with Samira, because you're looking to get those resets, anything which helps you get that first kill, whether it's an execute or not, can be very important there.
Now look at this presence from JDG. They did move Ruler up towards mid lane and swap the lanes a little bit to see if they could pressure over this Rift Arrow. Looks like LGD will continue to have 100% neutral objective control.
Well, and again, JDG, they're waiting for their moment. Other teams might have chosen to fight before this because it just feels bad on like an instinctive level to give over so many objectives. But you've got the Yuumi, you've got the scaling in a lot of ways. You're more than fine with this. It's not like LPC is getting hugely far ahead of the game on the Samira and snowballing out of control. You're happy with how this is going so far.
It's the trade meme, you know? LPL fans get no kills, but JDG gets their game plan.
Gotta say, like, I wonder what JDG is trade. I think so. JDG's trade here is like, you get multiple neutral objectives. We get not dying early.
Not yet, at least. Not yet. We do want to see a little bit of pressure from this Rift Herald on LGD's side in the mid lane. Gonna try to get LPC this one. The defense is there, and we actually just get that reset from LGD as the tower falls.
Now this is getting a little bit concerning though. LGD opening up the map somewhat with these two outer turrets going down. JDG, if they want to return that favor, they're going to have to group up and find themselves a way into one of these towers. I think actually the failed 1v1s from 369 going to hurt a little bit now. You get a couple of them, it stops your turret from falling. Maybe you can start making some inroads there. So 369, sadly, not able to get the most out of that matchup at that point. Not for lack of trying. It was pretty close, don't get me wrong. But missing those 1v1s, stinging a little bit now.
You can see every time he was just really wanting to get that upper hand there, but couldn't find it. Still going to be a menace, as we saw in game number 2. This pick is just going to get stronger and stronger, but that's how you have to find a way to play around for LGD. And speaking of finding a way, they're going to focus holistically on the other side of the map and on to Knight, who's going to go golden after popping the tippers, but Haichao has showed up, and it's now just about who's going to get the kill, and it's Haichao. First blood, finally, at 16:53.
Yeah, hence we were kind of talking about, yeah, so if you want to get those outer turrets in return from LGD, you're probably going to have to group up. Going alone into these side lanes is very, very difficult, especially when you don't have a roaming support like that with Khan. 369 looking for his own inroads against fearness once more, but can't really find anything.
If Haichao makes it here, it is a outnumbered fight for JDG around this Dragon Pit. I don't think JDG are going to give up vision that easy. They're going to try to bolt Knight down the mid lane as quickly as possible, but LGD are going to have the push out of that mid lane right now.
They have themselves everything but their Cyclone available in terms of ults as well. Haichao didn't have to blow the pop blossom towards that top side. Knight teleports back onto the map though. Fearness
wants it. Fearness has a decent amount of damage right now as well and has the chase down mechanic. 369 fading out a little bit of LGD's pressure as JDG themselves rekindle the fire here and will come up from bottom lane.
There are some really good flank wards if JDG find the right place and the right timing to use them. No 369 was chunked out, can teleport back in. That's the ward. He's teleporting onto it. Here comes the fight. They're choosing their moment.
They're going to try to get in here before the Dragon's already gone, but 369 just going to show them that it's already out of there. That's sole point for LGD, opening up so many wonderful avenues forward. Fearness, hopefully there's more than one avenue forward here. They're going to TP. All right, just in case. Be it.
No, it is just all defensive TPs. I was so certain that was going to be the fight. I was like, okay, got Flash on the Cassandra, can bring someone back into the team. You have Tibbers back up and available. Nope. Dragon's taken. The timing's not quite there. Sole point for LGD. And don't get me wrong, I like particularly when you have the Yuumi, not fighting too much early because, again, you can't afford to get snowballed on. You also can't fall out of Rum's reach as well. And giving up kills like this, giving up so many early objectives, it's starting to get pretty close to that.
You just had to see Knight die in the side lane again. Yeah. But it was an important moment, right? I think it snowballed from there for LGD where they were able to get a lot of map pressure around there. But now we're going to have another big objective to play around. While LGD have gotten full 100% neutral objective control, Baron is now on the table in about 35 seconds.
Act 2 begins. Intermezzo is now
Get your
30 seconds. You have 30 seconds to run, grab yourself those small ice cream tubs and a bathroom break. That's it. Get back in your seats immediately after.
Yeah, we'll see actually resets from LGD coming through here, just trying to keep some pressure from mid lane with LPC. And I do beg the question still how LPC really becomes a part of these team fights unless you're just waiting until the right moment, right? Buying a lot of time and going in after all the big tools have been utilized. JinJiao not gonna want to walk into the bushes anymore.
Sat there, I was like, that's not a karma. He can get away from me. That's not what I had calculated. Either way, big damage coming in from the Kazakhs. Not enough to secure that kill. Kanavi, more important really for vision control than anything else right now. Not really able to use the brawn of the Kazakhs currently to best advantage. But as you can see, JDG actually getting decent vision control to even allow Ruler to push up in that mid lane, even though that they've lost that mid lane out of turret.
Get that second item completion for Kanavi as well, which is pretty big. We'll be back out on the map now, trying to keep some vision game around this top side, but not again. Knight goes with the preemptive tippers. There ain't nothing saving you today, buddy. And Knight will go 0-2 and be the 2 kills that LGD have picked up in the side lane.
LPC isolated.
Okay, not going to find the final chapter connection there. Flash did get used by LPC. Mid lane, outer tower should fall here to JDG. Oh,
that's really important. See if LGD... No, I don't think they can completely protect this. JDG, they really want this turret. It opens up the map so much for them. Knight has died to try and stabilize the map, or at least trying to see if LGD slip up and let him get a wave in for free, get some turrets in.
Oh no,
JinJiao,
not again. But this time it's Kazakhs. It's not the Sejuani. JinJiao makes it out with his life. As now Meteor is going to be contested here. This is a scary combo running around here. Obviously the Yuumi plus the Kazakhs. But as we see, Hull Breaker completed for fearness. Side lane pressure is going to need to be answered by JDG.
Yeah, and we've already seen that JDG have struggled in side lanes. The Annie is not safe. Pretty much everyone else is also going to be at threat at some points. Fearness in Mininar form has the % HP damage. Do you really threaten someone like 369 in extended trades too? With the Hull Breaker built up, 369 needs to be careful. And I don't know if you can really stop Fearness from hitting tower as well.
I don't know if you can. 369 is going to wish he had a couple of those kills early on. I know we've mentioned it a couple times, but definitely wishing some of those went his way. Speaking of going their way, though, LPC gets that IE. Completing second items on these ADCs is not necessarily the big stepping point, but at least for Nymaera and Desire going to feel a lot more comfortable in these next fights, especially this soul point, or at least the soul fight that LGD have set up for themselves.
I mean, we are seeing the Navori Quick Blades actually build up on Desire. We saw some Gale Force earlier in the day, but this one, of course, does give you more defensive capabilities because you have more ultimates. And, of course, a lot of the defensive items for AD carries have been changed. Bloodthirster is a bit more aggressive nowadays. Immortal Shield Bow, no longer a mythic, and it's not really the same role as it used to be beforehand. Not that I was building that much anyway, but still, that Navori Quick Blades giving more ults gives you some more ability to peel backwards. How important will that be around this dragon? This is soul for LGD if they were to get it. JDG, they can't stall any longer, really.
Argyle Stoneplate completed for 369, but specifically didn't have a flank ward to come to, so just going to join a front-to-back. Knight might look for a flank here. A flash Tibbers could be the decisive need that JDG have. The LGD would just want to slow roll this one. They do have a pretty stout team fight, and again, LPC needs to wait to get into these fights. He cannot get picked off because he will be the finishing factor for LGD in a lot of this, and right now, we're just getting an okay corral standoff.
So Knight stood on this blast cone. Watch what he can do with that. There is no vision inside the pit to see Knight hop over this wall. Fearness can get Hull Breaker, but needs to be stood away from the team. Here comes Knight.
Meteor goes in. JinJiao's trying to connect. They're getting Ruler. Big blade caller. Everything goes on a Ruler, and he stands the test of time for now. The rest of JDG have already picked him up. Ruler is still standing. Ruler will not go down, and Ruler outplays them all.
6,000 damage right into the faces of LGD as LPC is absolutely pummeled by Knight and 369. Two parts of a greater whole. JDG win their own AD carry battle and take down the opponents.
What a play. Literally just throwing themselves at this Xayah Yuumi combo, and nothing came up to task. JDG now forcing the hand onto the Baron, as they should be able to secure this one. No smite, and that is Kanavi coming away with it, but JDG, more importantly, all those Baron buffs.
They really could have left that any later, could they? That last dragon on the table in regards to LGD potentially getting that soul would have been an absolute killer for them. Giving over that much of an advantage would have been very, very difficult. They even up the gold, they get themselves a Baron. They don't lose anyone in that attempt as well. It is just so painful for LGD. It felt like they'd got themselves some advantages. But watch this. LPC doesn't get to play. It's just completely lights out. The only thing you can dodge from these solo laners is one skill shot from Annie. Besides that, it is all direct damage through your Blade World. You don't get to block any of it.
Yeah.
While all that's happening, Ruler has Yuumi on his back. He gets huge damage through those feathers.
Just the fact that all three, Haichao, Meteor, and JinJiao, just threw their ultis at Ruler, and you know, most of them did not connect, and he's just standing there while the rest of the backline of LGD is getting eviscerated. It feels good for a JDG fan, but it feels good for JDG, right? They're being able to pick apart this composition from LGD and play to the strengths of theirs. They are at the point where they thrive. We've said it time and time again. There is a countdown timer when it comes to JDG. You do not want to face this beast in a team fight. And Knight, he's not in a team fight, so maybe he wants to face the beast as Meteor will go ahead and pick that one up.
And fearness is still in this
fearness!
Oh,
369! Solo Bolo, my king!
How does he do that into a hull breaker? That's meant to be the side laning 1v1 item. 369
he's just built different. Throw those nines out, baby. 369 on this Cassante is literally just built different.
He literally has built different. He doesn't have a hull breaker, and he doesn't need one. And that's so important. Despite Knight dying on that top side, you thought that fearness might be able to win on the other side of the map too. It will be an inroad for LGD against this Baron buff. 369 clutch solo kill to put the map into fully JDG control.
A tier 2 tower to boot in the end of that one. We got to look at this.
So he gets hit by one, gets aggroed by a couple of those Baron creeps, and he just goes through all of his cooldowns. Like, he's getting aggroed by a lot of creeps, don't get me wrong, but wow, that is a lot of skill shots hit by 369. There you go.
Just built different, man. Just built different. No, it's just really good to see some capitalization on that side matchup, because fearness was opting into this side lane and finding strength with that hull breaker. Uh-oh. There's a shark in the water, fearness. You ain't got a flash.
He has tier 3 ult. He has his third rank of ult. He can wait for it. He's waiting for it to come off the cooldown. Walking up now.
Dun, 369. We'll see Kanavi actually come out here as well, trying to finish this off, because Meganar's coming out from fearness. It's gonna be a little bit dicey here as 369 finds Meteor here to defend LGD's top laner, and he should actually get picked out here. One more auto, and there you go. Kill given over to Meteor. As LPC is getting chased down by Knight, doesn't go down. We got a fight on the bottom side, though. Ruler will be kiting away as the final chapter for Missing comes through. A double kill rang true, and Knight with a flash gets one back for JDG.
It's still a pretty good play for LGD overall, though. fearness this time doesn't fall down in that side lane. JDG, they overcommit a little bit too much, and means that they give a bit of breathing room over where potentially they were looking to kind of snuff out the last kind of resistance from LGD. As it stands, though, still 40 seconds till the dragon comes up. All of this is kind of a little bit secondary to this dragon spawn right now. Still soul potentially on the table from LGD. Everyone will respawn by that time. The only thing really missing will be those summoners just using that play.
So I know we said intermission for the Baron fight, but now we have another intermission, because you know both teams are fighting this dragon fight about 20 seconds. So let's look at this replay.
This is an encore. It's the same thing, right?
This is an encore.
So it's definitely an encore. Yeah. It's like every time you go to see a band and it's like, oh man, they played their last song, and they're going to come out for another time anyway. This one, LPC, we've seen him go down before. That's maybe the encore he didn't want. The only two things he can block with his Blade Wall, he's stunned for, so he can't get them off. Back into his dragon now, though, but JDG, they're wiped down. Cannot let LGD get that soul.
do not want to give over that sustainability to LGD in their composition. Meganar for fearness popping up here. Again, LPC needs to buy time in these fights. The Samir is no use to anyone dead, and they just need to get headshots. Ruler will be playing so safe, and he has been for so long in this game. Tibbers is available to drag him down. It goes over to Kanavi. You got the final chapter ringing out here, but you got JinJiao trying to run away from Kanavi. He does get away, but on the back line, you got 369. Pop Blossom here, though. That's pretty big, but Ruler is still full health because he got untouched in that. LGD are running for the hills, but the hills have eyes, and those eyes are red like the heart of JDG.
That'll be the fight which will really put the nails in the coffin of LGD. Couple of members dead. I don't think they can stabilize the map. They're going to lose inhibs. Even if the game doesn't end here, it's likely a Baron to the side of JDG. I don't think LGD can survive to another Dragon. Hell, they might not survive another wave.
There is no more time to wait. There is no more time to give. LGD with one last gasp effort here, baby. If the minion wave was there, you got a little bit of a push power from JDG, but you get one more fight, it feels like, from LGD, and they just have to find some map as JDG have their eyes right on Baron.
Yeah, Nico wave clear just about enough to clear out that wave. You see LGD through to limping through to potentially one more fight. LPC has not been able to play this game from laning phase to team fights. The Nymaera has failed in what LGD had set out to do with it. Meteor running towards this Baron. I don't think he can get there in time. He has no flash either.
I don't think he can either. They're just going to find 369 on the back to the pit. As Knight's actually waiting to pull the trigger on the other side. He has Tibbers coming up very soon. The all-out pop. JinJiao getting all of his health bar taken out. 369 just uses his dash out of there. Fearness hopping over the wall as LGD trying to capitalize on an overstay from JDG. They won't find anything.
And with that, they're now staring down. Significant gold advantage. Baron buff coming out as well. Good resets coming from JDG. There really isn't much for LGD to take in recompense for that either. Going back to this fight though, once again, it just feels like LGD, they've not been able to get this Nymaera into the right position, doing the right amount of damage. Standing on top of the Tibbers during this fight too. LPC is half HP before they even really get to commit to anything. 369, sure, he's getting low. Maybe you can think of a reset there, but Nymaera just doesn't have the staying power. You don't have a shield though, you don't have a bloodthirster, and then you just die outright.
Yeah, even with that Inferno trigger, not even getting enough healing to survive one auto attack from 369, it is all out for him. So Kanavi now will continue pressing this snowball into the face of LGD. We have Fearness in the side getting 1v1 by Knight. Holy cow, that was so close. Fearness biting the bullet.
You know, it's going poorly. If the one person you could abuse in side lanes before this point is suddenly winning against your Hullbreaker champion, Knight has himself a teleport and the flash as well. Fearness might have to go back to base himself. Picks up his, he has 3 items of course, but it's still not helping him survive against that Annie. JDG running rampant across the map.
And it just fits their style so well from that game 2 advantage they had, right? Like, all they needed was to survive. And we said that from the get-go, and they have done so, right? And we see the strength of their composition coming to life. We're getting to 3, 4 items now for them, and LGD are struggling to kind of keep up. We're about to get 3rd item for LPC very soon, but will there be enough time left on their life clock here is the remaining question.
I find it very hard to believe. LPC doesn't have any MR anyway, and has felt like it's been more than enough for just Knight pressing his buttons on top of the poor AD carry. Has himself that Lord Dominates regards. That item very good. Deep teleport from Haichao. They're going way behind Ruler. This is it. This is the last gasp. What can they do with it?
I'll try to catch Ruler out. He has the ghost, but no flash. Will immediately pop that ghost as soon as he smells trouble. And Haichao didn't find that angle they needed. They got to deal with 369, who's in their base right now at their Nexus turrets.
Haichao, he's backing all the way off. Maybe wondering if someone from JDG is coming to hunt him down, but he's not going to be there for the flank. He's not even recalling. Haichao, get back to base.
Go for the log.
Go
for the log flank.
Go home.
Go to your home. Your home is destroyed, Nymaera. You can't go home because there's nothing left when JDG come to town. LPC gets shut down. Your hopes, your dreams for LGD, your possibility of taking down the Titans of JDG go straight out that window. and JDG roared alive in game 2 and smacked them down in game 3, taking a 2-1 victory.
That was the flank of nightmares. I get that you're in a very difficult spot. You've dug into this one corner. Lots of gold in the disadvantage as well, but that one has got to feel awful for Haichao, who on the whole was solid, but struggled to find the inspiration where it really mattered, and it felt like at the death of that series happened once more.
And I just look back to that game 1. They had, for LGD, such a good game plan, and they executed on it so well, but it's still JDG. It is still our reigning MSI champions, our reigning LPL champions.